Blessed love and peace, Rastafari. Shalom, Namaste, Assalamu alaikum, Ni hao, Buenos tardes, Hetche, Aquaba, Welcoming. What up, though? Just a wee bit of ditty. What's going on in the city? It's nitty gritty. We're gonna keep it at that. So, Shabbat is approaching very soon. It's been a minute since I shared something like this. And this is actually just addressing immediate circumstances. So. All right, and this is a brief joint. And I may do another recording of further length at another time. Maybe, we'll see. I've like interest. It's not my. It's not my volition. Anyways, however, here we go. So earlier this week, I forwarded a communique to the state of Ohio, the governor and the attorney general, concerning the effective brothel that used to be my high school. And so I'll describe. I mean, I can share the communication, the letter, or the written letter that's shared, but that's basically done a couple of days ago. Then today, what is received is this joint, which is a notification of mandatory inspection of premises. Yeah, a wee bit of a lack of patience after reading this joint, or upon reading this joint. So, this is it. Now, it can seem benign on the surface level, but this is a flex. This is an act of oppression. Well, what up, squirrel? What up, brother squirrel? What's happening? You big. I see you. Yes, there's food on the ledge, but I'm talking, so it's up to you. You big old fatty for the winter. All right, this is serious, actually. This is on the brink of life and death type stuff, so ain't nothing new. It's a flex. It's a proclamation. It's an act, a pretense of just claiming dominion and trying to either to kowtow things of saying we own things and shut up and do what we want to do, and look we prove it because we can run up in all your stuff type of thing, or if there's resistance, oh, he's breaking the law, or one's breaking the law, and then that's an excuse for a lockup. And not in terms of criminal, it's in terms of psychiatric, which means molestation, forced injection, drugging, incarceration indefinitely, and whole lots of mind fuckery. So that's the track record. That's history. That's what I experienced numerous occasions previously. So one way of recognizing like this is not just a benign kind of thing is looking at the scene from Gandhi. Remember that film? Remember that dude? Remember that way? Gandhi from 83, 40 years ago, 40 years ago. There's a scene when he's in South Africa, in the land of the Zulu, in Xhosa. He's not in Xhosa land, but it's near Xhosa land. Zulu. There is a law that is proclaimed in South Africa during that period, over 100 years ago, where police can just enter somebody's domicile and demand proof of identity and having requiring basically a second-class citizen, second-class ID card upon demand. But it's the whole notion of a man's home being his domain and respecting that, and a law that allows an official to violate that is a violation of the actual entity, the body of the man himself, and it's utilized as a way of, again, oppressing, suppressing people, and directly, but then also comprehensively, because then people don't respect a man who can't even protect his own house. who can't protect his own family, his wife, his children, and additionally from this type of disrespect and violation. And the pretense is inspection. We have to make sure everything's doing, and this is a government facility, quote unquote, or it's claimed by the government. So there's all those pretenses and everything else like that. But it's just a flex, and it's not necessary. It's all of a sudden, and next week, sometime or whatever. So it's a flex. And when you look at the scene of Gandhi, you see the reaction that the brethren have. Because today, people are just accustomed to being disrespected and violated. And if somebody stands up against that, then people say, well, he's a troublemaker because he's standing up for himself. And why can't he just go along and get along? People are just so conditioned and accustomed and expectant and become even belligerent when somebody else stands up for themselves. So it wasn't always that way, and it's still not always that way, particularly when in societies and cultures where people are further old school and traditional. So anyways, that's the situation. Oh yeah, also, by the way, I've talked with the agency that endeavors management of this facility on numerous occasions, and they made numerous promises not to use this slave name when referring to me. And for many years, I don't even open things that have the slave name. But because of recent positive communications and the promise to abstain from doing it and to use my proper name, I recognize that communications that continue in this respect, doing that way, are intentional and beyond people's own control. People can't even control themselves. And so it's not even a matter of getting mad at people, because people are out of control in this respect. So, but at the same time, people have to be held accountable, and there has to be some type of resistance and standing upness against these violations and drunkenness and corruption. So, this is the working response, posting on the door. Again, it's about to be Shabbat, so there's not a lot of time for making preparations and everything else like that. But it's appropriate to recognize what the conditions are. And this isn't a further condition. I'm gonna spill some beans here, spill some tea right here. Yo, the block is hot right now. It's one of the reasons why I go to Oberlin. It's increasingly, well, I should say, it's different now at the moment in the past couple of weeks since I returned, because it's still like it's a little bit cloudy, so it's still kind of like settling itself, because it's a little bit different than it was when I left. But before I left, the block was hot. The block is hot. And I mean, it's increasing gangster stuff that can pop off at any second. And the thing is, it's sanctioned. It is sanctioned by the conventional leadership, because this type of gangster stuff doesn't happen just out the blue. It's beyond the control of the police. It's sanctioned by not even by the government, by beyond the government. So and it's intentional and it's directed, because for weeks and weeks and months, cats, well, I have to be mindful of how much I say and how much detail I say, but it's very direct passive aggressiveness towards myself personally, to the effect of making it imposing upon the work that I do, disrupting sleep, regular day in, day out, throughout the night, and doing it. It's so blatantly obvious, but at the same time, it's so passive aggressive. And it's not even the people who are doing it themselves. They're being put up to it. So it's no use just talking to the people, because one, when trying to talk to people kind of just walk away and just like don't want to say anything when directly addressed. But at the same time, when not directly addressed, all types of belligerence and disruption and ignorance. So it's obvious that they're being put up to this. They're being sanctioned. They're being sponsored to do this. So it's recognizing of the mechanics of convention, which is rife with corruption. This whole vicinity, as I said for years, sexual exploitation, child trafficking, pedophilia, and that's like the surface. And then when we look at the further nature of these things, we see the things about satanic worship, child killings, sacrifices, people killings, torture. And it's scary to even think about what's happening, but it's appropriate to recognize that when we see the rainbow swastikas, that's just a cloud, and it's a cloud that makes these other things further rife and further difficult to call out: child trafficking, pedophilia, And additionally, and when people do talk about it, hold on, oh, wait a minute, we want to visit your place. We want to see what you got going on. And we want to flex it a little bit and let you know what's what. So that's the situation. And the nicey nice game works to a certain extent. And once one commits to that nicey nice life, of the high life, of the pious life, we can't threaten directly violence. I cannot threaten myself. I'm not going to kill nobody. I'm not going to kill nobody. But at the same time, I have to let people know that there are consequences, because cats is drunk. Cats do not see the effects of their actions. Cats are in fear. Cats are petrified. Cats are paralyzed. And cats are drunk. And so it's only things like this. I'm not threatening anybody's life. God willing, I will never kill anybody in this life. Ever. I will not. It's all against who I am and what I'm guided for. However, that same guidance tells us that when people do trip and continue tripping and don't stop tripping, it's going to be consequences. And it's necessary for people to recognize that, to hear that. And it does provide a pause for some people. For some people, it provides further motivation. But particularly for those who are on the borders, who are on the fringes, there's a wake-up call. And also for the people who need protection, and recognizing that passive resistance isn't just a matter of like turning our other cheek and getting rammed. No, that's not what it is. We do stand up for ourselves, and we let it be known that we do have that propensity. I can defend myself. I can defend the kinfolk around me in a righteous way. But the consequences and the ultimate defense, the superior defense, is beyond myself and beyond any kinfolk alive or ever alive. So, but some people have less of a literacy for that type of phenomena and experience, but it exists though. So anyways, all right, there's only so much I can share at this moment because, like I said, Shabbat is arriving and I have to make preparations. Yeah, so that's part of the situation at the moment. I mentioned, again, the block is hot. I mean, I've shared this once since it happens. But anyway, I'll say it here very briefly. Yeah, when I talk about the block is hot, I'm talking about like right where I'm looking at this moment. Cats doing dirty stuff right in front of my window, even smiling at me afterwards. And all types. I've shared the signs of it before in previous videos, before previous recordings. So it becomes increasingly rampant. And again, it's obvious that it's cats are not doing it on their own. They got backup, but not even backup from like the streets. It's backup from the ivory towers. So it's just very obvious. But amidst, and again, that's one of the reasons why I go to Oberlin, because of the circumstances. And it's not a matter of flying or being fearful and fleeing for safety. It's a matter of because it impedes the work being done. That's the bottom line. My life is comparatively inconsequential. I provide a service, I have a knowledge, I have a skill set, and I'm here to provide that. And when that service is being impeded, then I have to find a way of remedying that so I can continue in that service. And it doesn't mean annihilating whatever because that's against the service itself. And so when the methodologies of addressing the impediment are exhausted, then it's a matter of finding another thing. And it was at that time a few months ago when the invitation from Oberlin arrives, and so there's like, oh, here's an opportunity. Let's see what we can do here, and continuing to do this service. And so that's what we do. Now, when I'm in Oberlin, the circumstances become such that it precludes me doing the service. My injury, and additionally, was impeding my ability to do the service in Oberlin, and the conditions had yet to be proficient to properly support me in Oberlin to take care of my physical well-being and continue doing the service. And so I return here. And as I return here, again, then the very next day I get a gun pulled on me, and all types of bitch ass nigga thrown at me. Now I'm not going to go into all the details of that circumstances, but that's the first day I got back into the Cuyahoga. So, like I said, the block is hot, and these are the circumstances. And so when we get these notices, it's like it's fire upon fire, and um, we have to deal with it accordingly, and we call it out. So um, we continue to advocate reconciliation, honesty, fairness, justice, um, and one of the words we utilize is many people are afflicted. Again, it's drunkenness, it's corruption, and just so much accustomed to that, not knowing anything else. And one way of describing it is cultural inbreeding, cultural incest, whereby people don't even know that treating people, other people, in a certain way is inappropriate. Like people are oblivious to that and just are so accustomed to doing bullshit that when they get called out for it, they perceive the person calling them out as being like criminal, because people are just so culturally inbred. And I don't mean to be derogatory towards kinfolk who have that experience, but that's what it is. People are just so blinders, don't even like look at people, others as value. Um, and so that there's a certain amount of awakening that's required in this process. And I'm going to leave it at that because we got to roll. Um, I emphasize the reconciliation, health and well-being. Um, I can't say um, everybody knows me for that. I can't say that because um, that's bullshit. We can't testify about ourselves or what other people what may testify about ourselves. All I can do is rely and pray to God that people know me for that, and trust in that my actions speak for that amidst all my foibles and my own personal bullshit, what I'm about, so that when we share things like this, it's known for being shared with love. And the police, it's not even going at the police, because the police are further sober than the decision makers, than the hierarchy. So it's not even a matter of getting at the police. Yes, the police might do the dirty work, quote unquote, on certain occasions. But first, the police are not the decision makers. The police are the enforcers. And so when you know the game, it's like, don't get mad at the police. Get mad at the people who are making the decisions. And again, many of the kinfolk who are the police are the plain traditional kinfolk who understand the value of family, traditional family, how to respect people. And yes, kinfolk are racist and everything else like that, but much less so, generally speaking, than the hierarchy. So getting mad at the police is like getting mad at the kinfolk who are actually most alike, or most attuned and proximate with the notions of justice and fairness and honesty. So that's one thing. The other thing also is that police are way outgunned at this point. It's like it's the wild wild west, y'all. And I mean, I've seen the fear of the police in recent occasions amidst the block being hot. In addition, like police are not enforcing the law. Police are not calling cats out. Police are not like doing the things because police are being exposed. Police are unprotected amidst the hierarchy, amidst the corruption, and additionally, and know the consequences of going against the criminality. And additionally, so because the criminality is the government, and the criminality is not even, it's beyond the government. The criminality is the leadership. So anyways, that was a little bit of venting, and I said, oh, that's going to be it, but we know how that goes. Positive. So like I said, working on I pray to God that I stay true to peace and benevolence, that people continue to recognize the peace and benevolence within myself and within themselves, and continue to work continually within our experience of ongoing reconciliation. They're beautiful experiences of reconciliation amongst kinfolk that were at each other just the previous day. I experienced that myself personally. So I'd never discount that. Never limit somebody's propensity for cooperation, regardless of who it is, or even a collective of people. So we have to be mindful of that. Yet continue to call out the bullshit from the past, but without condemning, without proclaiming it as unchanging or unchangeable. So that's what things are. I'm trying to think. There's something else I think of significant to conclude at the moment. So So yeah, I mean, the other thing is that this is one of the pretenses for a preceding lockup a few years ago. Actually, on a numerous occasions. There's a I shared, I reviewed it recently, but I haven't posted it recently. A testimony about when I was in the library, going on 10 years ago. It's 9 years ago. Um, Doing nothing, got locked up, and then from that lockup, the first occasion of well, it wasn't the first occasion, but from that, again, being raped, tortured, molested, forcefully drugged, and additionally, I did nothing. I hurt nobody, wouldn't threaten nobody. I literally was just standing, waiting for a computer. Literally, just standing, waiting for a computer. Literally, that's all I was doing. I didn't say anything. I didn't look at anybody. I did not threaten anybody. Standing for some 2 or 3 hours, waiting for a computer. But I was in the way, so the police were called. Anyways, that was another situation. But again, it's giving a matter of there's the history of blaming the individual for the unusualness, but without recognizing the woeful violence and hostility in enforcing these policies and enforcing this culture of oppression. And again, when somebody resists that, doesn't comply with it, then that person is perceived amongst the collective as a troublemaker, as a rebel, or whatever else. But again, that's a symptom of cultural inbreeding. Gaga. So, and that black kinfolk are some of the worst perpetrators of that cultural inbreeding, hostility, and passive aggressiveness, just to comply with the status quo and get a little bit ahead by throwing so many other kinfolk under. So it ain't exclusive to one type of color or even one type of socioeconomic experience. But that was one experience. And then a few years ago, the most recent, it wasn't the most recent lockup, but not even on this land. But a few years ago, a similar situation where their hostilities communicated. We were flying a flag of peace, of reconciliation amongst the communities, and there was hostility for that, and then threats made against me for that, and then the police arrived, and then I was taken away. And it was attributed to not allowing inspections to be taken place because of the hostilities that were being communicated. The hostilities, again, and this I think this is the first occasion of there being inspections since this time. But what was happening at the previous occasion was that there was a specific concern, something about the fire detector, and I've shared stuff about that before. But there was we were flying the flag because, actually, for a number of reasons. But outside the window, a sign that was showing peace amongst the communities. There were numerous complaints from, again, the management, and additionally, and demands to withdraw the flag of peace, and it wasn't any particular one. It wasn't political. It wasn't political in terms of like being one side or another side. It was completely everybody, and so, but still, that's perceived as political, and even if it is political, it's still legitimate. But anyways, repeated threats, and then amidst those threats, then there was the inspection, and then because. And it's not just the inspection, but it was people walking into this domicile, which is a sacred space, with their footgear on. And again, that's disrespect. That's violating traditional custom, particularly in a holy sanctuary. And so there are all these violations. And because of that, at some point, I refused allowing people to come in. I locked the door and said, "No, you can't come in. No inspection. We got to talk first. We got to lay some ground rules." And then all of those reasons were precipitated. Oh, you're not gonna let us in? Here comes the knock, the very kind knock on the door, with men with guns. And then that's when I was assaulted in this space, and then locked up subsequently. Now the thing is that there's some cause and effect with that, and it's right before COVID hit, and there's a certain amount of everything's connected. And so it's appropriate to recognize that, particularly because of what goes on inside the space when I was inside the lockup circumstances, and how it very much not even just mirrors, but coalesces with what happens with COVID. But anyways, that's another story. The point is that lessons have yet to be learned, it seems. So it's par for the course at this point, and we just continue to do our best. But that's the other thing I share is that all these pretenses of inspections and everything else are also again aggressions and testing the waters, and then provocations to cause further agitation upon which attempted reason for further aggressions, and additionally still having yet to learn the fallibility, the futility of these methodologies, because oftentimes people, it's a rotating, it's a revolving door in terms of the people who are doing it. It's just different staff people, and so, but even those who are like assigning the rotation, or inheriting the assignment role of the rotation, still have yet to learn. So for those who do learn, those who have learned, we do our best: patience, balance, honesty, perseverance, blessed love and peace, and all thanks and praise to the Most High.